So, if y'all are wasting all this time with this terrible pacing, building up to each one of these fights, a fight against Frieza, a fight against Cell, a fight against this guy, that guy. What is the point of y'all even fighting if there's no limit? We don't have any idea of how strong y'all can get, you know what I mean? And even if y'all die, y'all are up in heaven having a damn party waiting. Y'all are in the gulag.
Jesus, these videos are way more taxing than I thought they were going to be. There is no way I'll be able to finish this video in time for my channel not to die out. I need something to cover in the meanwhile. I guess I'll be video hunting again. Pablo? What's wrong, little guy? It's Ivan! He's bullying me again! Ugh, again? Man, that grass snake keeps getting on my nerves. What did he do this time? My voice! He briefly took my voice and used it to say awful things to Winston. He what?
Oh, come on, Bacon Strip. It was only just a prank. You don't need to go to Jack every time.
Darn it, Ivan. How many times have I told you not to pick up That's the thing he used to steal my voice!
Steal your... What? How aloof can you even be? I didn't steal your voice. All I did was use today's advanced technology to mimic your voice and use text-to-speech to make it sound like you were talking. Here, have a listen.
I don't know why Winston stays cooped up in his study at Juniper's lab all day. It's utterly boring.
And besides, aren't you a self-proclaimed aspiring artist, weeabo? Even if I somehow stole your voice, I 100% believe that the real you would be able to win a hypothetical suit against the person using the voice clip as long as you can use the mindset of, oh, you're using the knockoff of my voice? Fine! Then how about upgrade to the good quality for your production? Though, since we are dealing with a meat pork chop like yourself, I'm pretty sure this hypothetical voice theory would easily Never use that application ever again, especially towards Tepig and Oshawott. Arceus, Jack, it was only a prank. And what's the harm of this anyway? It's just a cheap toy I found.
You wanna know why this thing is so dangerous? Fine, I'll show you. Give me a few minutes. Looks like I finally have commentary material once more. So, normally I wouldn't get involved with discourse like this, since I'm not particularly a fan of political issues and drama of this sort, because yes, of course what I'll be talking about somehow gets political, oh joy, and I might not fully know the grasp of situations like these to forge an interpretation of the situation that'll be meaningful to this discussion. However, given that I'm an aspiring artist myself who has a very strict stance on the given topic today, I feel as though I should at least share my own thoughts on what's occurring. And hey, this at least has some connection to DBZ, so I'm at least keeping the promise I made of making a DBZ related commentary. Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, meet Scott Frericks, more commonly known as KaiserNeko, one of the founding members of the channel TeamFourStar and creators of the web series Dragon Ball Z Abridged. I'm fairly certain most people know what this parody series is about, that being a series that riffs and shortens down the scenes present within OG DBZ, featuring various artists, actors, and dedicated fans, so I'll move on to the context of the situation we're covering. For those not in the know, on January 27th of this year, KaiserNeko made a post on Twitter commenting his disgust towards a short TF2 source filmmaker clip, him expressing distaste that there were AI voices featured within it.
What's that?
This here contraption is the ultimate boredom annihilator, son. Tailored to the needs of modern child's attention span, which happens to be 0.8 seconds.
Huh?
Just check this out. Paddleball, video games, RC, helicopter. And if you get hungry, you can eat a sandwich.
7 hours later, as the post had received some negative attention that tries to argue in favor of the video, Kaiser would then make a follow-up tweet at 7:38 PM reading the following. Y'all, I know it's just a 30-second animation. I genuinely do not care. It's genuinely disappointing to see anyone, but especially talented artists, using AI in their work. These actors do not want you fucking doing this, so fucking don't. If people are still unfamiliar with what the phrase AI means in this context, AI voice generators are softwares that converts written text into human-like speech, similar to that of the simple text-to-speech programs used to read off words without the use of an actual human being, only replacing basic robot effects or artificial intelligence that mimics a specific voice clip to have it say whatever they want. On paper, it seems like a very useful tool people can use who don't have the proper resources to usually pay for an actor in order to read or act if they aren't able to themselves. But many people inside and surrounding the voice acting industry were very quick to point out not only the flaws of using such technology, but also the dangers and harm it could cause as well. Replacing VAs in shows and movies for robot voices, ruining their livelihoods if they aren't able to fall back to other jobs to sustain themselves, imitating random people without their explicit consent, and arguably the worst of all, framing people for things they actually haven't done through this technology. And no, I'm not joking, there have been cases where that actually happened. Of course, there are still a large number of people who not only don't see an issue with these applications, but actively try defending people who use them, sometimes through very standoffish methods. And so, almost immediately after those two posts he made, KaiserNeko was flooded with people trying to defend this short clip of TF2 AI voices, sparking a huge drama about whether or not it's okay to use AI if you normally aren't able to afford voice actors or act out voice clips yourself. Enter me, a digital illustrator who only has a very basic understanding of voice acting and has a strong disliking of AI.
Hey, how's going, Chief? Maybe you can help me. I'm new in town, and I'm looking to find this guy here. Goku? We don't know where he is. He only shows up if there's trouble. Well, that happens to be my specialty.
Now, before I start the commentary itself, I'm aware that there's practically no way for me to actually go through the entire situation and talk about each and every post mentioned in these Twitter posts, since I'm pretty sure there are hundreds of threads now going over this entire ordeal. So, in order to make things a bit easier for me, I decided to pick out two reply threads that tries arguing in favor of the TF2 clip, one where the user doesn't understand the full situation, one where another user initially defends it but later apologizes and retracts their arguments, and finally the Twitter post that caused this video's creation in the first place. A grand total of 5 threads we'll be looking into. I'm aware that these threads won't go over every argument and claim made in this whole ordeal, but I do feel as though these ones at least give out what I believe to be the major issues these people speak about in regard to the situation, with the last one straight up talking about politics. With all of that being said, let the adventure begin.
Ugh, really? You have to say that every time you jump into these videos? Can't you say something that isn't cringe?
Hey, how rude! He was about to get to the main portion of the video!
Rude? This coming from the Tattletale for just a stupid
That's enough, you two. And yeah, why did you interrupt me for just that? We were about to get started.
I'm sorry, but I still don't get how this is such a big issue. And besides, you don't actually believe all that shit spewed about that app, huh? How is it that much of a concern for people?
You know what? You started this whole mess with Pablo to begin with. You're going to help me with this video this time.
What? Oh, come on! That's not fair! I don't even like your long-ass commentaries!
Do good enough job and they won't take as long. And besides, Pablo got his turn once before. This will be your punishment for your treatment of him.
Get. Fine. Let's just get this over with.
Is that the boss's time? Yes.
Y'all, I know it's just a 30-second animation. I genuinely do not care. It's genuinely disappointing to see anyone, but especially talented artists, using AI in their work. These actors do not want you fucking doing this, so fucking don't.
Oh, hi there, kiddo. Name's Pat. Have we met?
You guys literally cribbed off the animation of other people for years because you didn't have the money, skills, or time to do it yourself. Consider that this guy making this TF2 video is under those same restrictions you, Lenny, Taka, and Moscow were under back in S1. So this is the first of the arguments people seem to be making against Kaiser in trying to defend the use of AI in this SFM clip, that being due to their lack of money, skills, and time to create animation themselves during Season 1, Scott and the other people working or who have worked under TFS shouldn't complain when the SFM user allegedly suffered through the same conditions they had to go through as a means of claiming hypocrisy. This argument begins to crumble in a few ways. Firstly, while the TF2 clip is most likely made for parody only, so too was and still is the initial premise of DBZ Abridged. KaiserNeko, Lenny Pator, Takahata101, and Masako X, the four founders of TFS, weren't going into this project wanting to make a replacement anime for DBZ, nor were they wanting to make a dub that could replace it, a common misconception made against the group during around the time they were in Season 3.
Hey, post-check here. Sorry for the interruption, but as I was editing this, that cribbing off comment of yours has been bugging me for a long time, and I no longer can hold my frustration with it. We'll get to this later, but the claim of TFS copying off the animators who made Dragon Ball is extremely flawed. To crib off of, in this context, means to plagiarize and or steal, but the thing is, they've never done so, and have actively made sure their audience knows they aren't doing so in their very own disclaimers that'll be shown later. They still give credit to the original work, and they've never in the past, nor in the present, have claimed that they've owned the show. And to pour some more salt in the wound, if you want to claim that TFS are cribbing off of these animations by just abridging them, you'd have to claim the exact same thing to each and every fan dub of already existing shows, games, etc. There'll be more instances of me cutting in like this, so stay tuned for that.
Whereas with AI, whether it's a parody or not, its sole purpose is to mimic voice actors and replace them. Both abridging and AI could be used for parody. Don't!
I mean, don't use AI for parody. Using abridging for it is just fine.
But due to AI's goal of actual cribbing off of the success of others while bridging has no such purpose, we'll get to that later, there's no hypocrisy to go off of. Secondly, the claim that they didn't have any actual skills in order to make DBZA at the time is a straight up lie. Both Lenny and Masako already had experience in acting way before the production of DBZA, and Kaiser had innovated the editing game for abridging at the time, something that was revolutionary at the time the abridging scene was still a new and growing thing. You can argue that it was extremely rocky, but by the end of Season 1, you can tell how much they've improved going into Season 2. And even then, through the production of the series, each and every member who worked on the project were able to grow in their skills, art, and talent as the parody series progressed, something that cannot be said the same for AI. Sure, AI technology can be developed over time, but the same cannot be said for the user of AI, as all they really need to do is insert text prompts into a generator for their artwork to be produced. No actual hard work needs to be implemented, while a fan dub like DBZA shows the development of an actual artist in real time. Hell, in between episodes 1 and 2, Masako recommended Lenny to use a better quality mic, most likely through Masako's learned experiences of knowing which equipment was needed for better quality.
It's really distracting too because of the different mic qualities.
Like some of us sound like we're talking into a tin can, some of us just sound like we're talking through 5 sweaters. I think Masako's microphone is the best, by far.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, Masako is actually the person who told me what microphone I should get when I first started out doing stuff. Like, he was the guy I talked to about that, so he knew what was up. Classic.
We're only on the first post made by one of Kaiser's detractors, and there's already huge flaws in their argumentation. Like I said, most actors don't give a shit if you take existing clips and remix them for fun. Remix culture is fine. We draw the line at AI models of our voices. It's the step over the line that is frankly Oh my god. Kaiser, why? Now I gotta look up a word.
Look both ways before you cross!
Okay, mate. Unconscionable. Okay. It's a step over the line that is frankly unconscionable for us. Why is this so hard to understand? Okay, so your problem seems to stem from— Oh, what the distortion world? This is a high school essay that I need to read. Why is it this Archaeastan? Yeah, a few of the people that commented on this whole situation were Twitter Blue users, who, through a paywall, gained access to a lot of features normal users on this site aren't able to access normally. One particular example being the increased character length you can type in each post. While people have been asking for a feature like this for a while now, it's now locked behind a paywall and public scrutiny for needing to pay for a free app to begin with. Not to mention you're actively funding Elon Musk while doing so, which is something a lot of people are actively against. So if you see these long-ass posts like these on Twitter, they're most likely used by a Twitter Blue user. Now enough of the preamble, continue on with the reading, Ivan.
Ugh, fine, whatever. The sooner I get this done, the better.
Okay, so your problem seems to stem from them having and using a robot of your voice. Here is a model of Kaiser's Trunk's voice, this hypothetical modeler would say. I can copy it indefinitely for free and give it to whomever I want, and most people couldn't tell. To which my retort, if I was your agent, would be, okay, you have that model. Can't do anything even remotely as good as his scream from History of Trunks? Or any of the other small flourishes that this model wouldn't have any training data for? Or play off other VAs as well as the rest of TFS does on a regular basis? If you want that, my client has stipulations X, Y, Z, which include not having any AI generated voices in the projects that ship with a voice in them. At which point, it becomes an arms race between the real VAs and the AIs, which I 100% believe the real VAs can win as long as they approach it with the mindset of, oh, you got the cheap knockoff stuff? Now how about you upgrade to the good shit for your show? Oh. Sounds awfully familiar, Huh. I'm gonna sit down for a few moments. Wow, there's a whole lot to unpack here. For starters, it doesn't really matter whether or not the AI voice is capable of sounding as good as some of the actors' best works, though it would still be incredibly frightening if it does have that level of quality. And judging from the TF2 clip in question, someone without a trained ear might not have readily picked up it was even an AI voice to begin with.
I just caught you making note of this very issue in your response to Kaiser. I can copy it indefinitely for free and give it to whomever I want, and most people couldn't tell. Gee, I wonder why voice actors would take issue with AI voices to begin with. Almost like the average listener wouldn't tell if it was a fake in the first place, and AI bros can make these fake voice clips for free to then make profit out of them. But nah, as long as these actors pursue an arms race with AI bros and acknowledge the original would be 1,000 times better, they shouldn't worry about it. Also, for the love of God, using an example of Kaiser's performance from History of Trunks was extremely shallow. You bringing it up to show that VAs have more skill than AI voices does exactly the opposite of what you wanted that to do. In the later words of Scott, it's weird, violating, disrespectful. Knock it off!
What Kaiser is getting at is the fact it shouldn't be used at all. Even if you say you have some form of respect towards the actors, if you use AI voices of actors in general, it shows a huge lack of actual care for them. Some companies are already foregoing actors entirely and sticking with AI models instead, some cases not even getting permission from the actor the AI is using as its base. They don't need to look at actors' TOS or stipulations in order for them to decide and take the actor's likeliness. Which leads me to this hypothetical lawsuit you bring up here. It frankly doesn't matter if it's technically fine to do under the law, which, due to the fact some cases show that AI is outright impersonating the people they're taking the voice from, cases like this probably would fall under the illegal umbrella to begin with. It completely ignores the actor's boundaries, regardless of the law or not. There shouldn't even be an arms race between VAs and AI bros to begin with. Putting this much focus on the legality of AI shows your skewed priorities. Alright, now that I'm done addressing this part of the thread... Ivan? Where'd you go? Which leads me to this hypothetical lawsuit you bring up here. It frankly doesn't matter if it's technically fine to do under the law, which, due to the fact some cases show that AI is outright impersonating the people they're taking the voice.
See? This is why you'll never be one of us! I hope you're proud of yourself.
No, wait! Please! I didn't do it, I swear!
Sure you didn't, pork grind.
Pablo... I'm sorry for pulling that prank on you. Huh? After listening to Jack express the problems he has with AI, it made me realize that you shouldn't have tried defending it like I have. I'll also apologize to Winston for using that AI voice of you to make fun of him. I'm grateful for your apology, Ivan. Huh, that's a first. I'm glad you were able to apologize to Tepig. Now then, ready to wrap up this thread? You only have one more post to read off before you're free to go. Yeah, I'm ready. This isn't just about the work, man. You really don't fucking get why this shit makes us so uncomfortable and frustrated. It's weird, violating, disrespectful. We don't want people using our voices in that way, and y'all just don't give a shit. I'm done. Go away, man.
No, I get it on a different angle. I'm a coder. They're trying to do the same thing to us. I'm 99% certain my code at my old company has been fed through multiple LLMs. Hell, the code in my GitHub is guaranteed to have the same thing happen. The only recourse we have is to say, okay, fine, that AI will get you close, but you won't get that human touch. And that human touch is what will be the difference between success and giant failure. In software's case, that human touch is what keeps that company from spending millions, if not eventually billions, dealing with the shit and bugs from the LLMs. In what you guys do with HOT, it's the difference between just some basic yelling and what you did for Trunks' first SS scene. From the editing, to the music, to the VAing, etc. Arceus, I felt like I was doing Professor Juniper's homework. Am I done now? There you are. Now go on and apologize to Oshawott. Will do. Good luck with your commenting or whatever the distortion world. So, I at first wasn't going to bring this up since I'm not a coder and there are certain terminologies that I'm not particularly well versed in, but after looking into it, I feel like it's important to bring up what these supposed LLMs are that Bob here is referring to. Apparently, an LLM, or large language model, is a type of AI algorithm that uses deep learning technologies and massive large data sets to understand, summarize, generate, and predict new content. So when he's saying that his code has been fed into LLMs, he's specifically referring to them being used as AI material, like with artists' work being fed through generators, supposedly without Bob's consent. Which, yes, is a bad thing if this is true. Even though he has been arguing against Scott to try and push a double standard that isn't there, it's still concerning that someone's work is actually being fed through an AI generator and that he doesn't deserve that happening to him. That much I can agree on. With that being said, however, I'm not really a fan of him making this comparison, since it doesn't really look like Bob is understanding how AI is being used on this side of the spectrum. On one coin, the AI being used to help with stuff like precise measurements, calculation, and even possibilities are all great things. This is all related to, of course, scientists, engineers, and other fields that have careers that help give smaller shortcuts to their profession. Though on the other coin, you have AI having the capability to remove people's creative professions like coders, artists, and voice actors, all with no real benefit to the original person.
And even if there is credit, that still wouldn't mean much since it could still result in the AI destroying the culture, dedication, and effort required to put meaning into their work. It's a lot more of an issue than just companies needing to spend billions of dollars on glitching hardware, as several job positions for talented artists and actors would crumble if AI were to replace them, which is the thing Bob seems to be feigning ignorance on. Keep in mind that there are people behind these characters and roles, and not just potential opportunities to make bank, please. And that's mostly it when it comes to Bob Funland. As Kaiser said, he dipped from the conversation shortly after, and the thread just continues with others arguing with Bob, so it's not really important for this commentary. Overall, Bob's biggest problem in regards to his defense of this TF2 clip using AI is that he prioritizes the legality of using the technology, seemingly ignorant to how morally upsetting it is for artists to have their work being taken and copied in general. While the legality of this technology should be an important point of contention when talking about this matter, that sort of criticism comes off as hollow when you try to imply that an artist should only be concerned about how it could affect their work. People feeding code into LLMs is vastly different from AI grifters abducting an actor's vocal performance. Was Kaiser too heated when responding to Bob? Perhaps, but given this is his profession and he made a living off of his hard work, it makes perfect sense why he would take issue with someone saying he shouldn't complain due to his own history of his work. Even though, as I showed before, the comparison of the TF2 clip and DBZA's early airings aren't at all comparable. Now that we're done with how Bob responded to this situation, let's move on to the next thread.
It's just a dude with a little sword. What is he gonna do? Like, what is it? Come on. I can.
Who are you people?
Y'all, I know it's just a 30-second animation. I genuinely do not care. It's genuinely disappointing to see anyone, but especially talented artists, using AI in their work. These actors do not want you fucking doing this, so fucking don't.
I don't understand the argument. If the quality will never match, then VAs still have value. If it's commensurate, then it's just another technological shift.
A lot shorter than the first thread, and Kaiser hasn't responded to this, I'm aware, but I feel like it should still be looked into. Similar to how Bob had argued that VAs shouldn't be too worried about AI taking their voice if they know how to stipulate their work, Mike is under the impression that it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things simply due to the fact AI will never match the quality of the original performance. Which, as I said before, doesn't really matter. Kaiser's whole argument is that using it at all shows an insane lack of respect towards the actors, specifically due to companies in the process of foregoing actors entirely. This not only takes away the jobs of actors, it also ruins livelihoods if the actor can't get a different everyday job. Also, that last bit you made note of. I was confused for a while what he was even getting at with commensurate, but I'm assuming he meant the word commensurate, which means corresponding in size or degree in proportion. So he's basically saying here that if AI is normal... Fuck. He's basically saying that if AI is normal... So he's basically saying here that if AI and normal VAing are of similar quality, then it's just another technical shift. That's objectively false! You're replacing an entire group of talented people for computer-generated voices. That's not a technical shift, that's excluding an entire demographic. And if the AI is specifically using models of voices from actual people, that's also impersonation. Look, you're perfectly fine to ask for input on a situation if you're not well versed on the discussion, but this assumption of there being no issue is extremely alarming in the long run. I'd advise actually putting in the research before giving out your own takes on this situation. Okay, next up is...
Oh my god! Freezer!
Y'all, I know it's just a 30-second animation. I genuinely do not care. It's genuinely disappointing to see anyone, but especially talented artists, using AI in their work. These actors do not want you fucking doing this, so fucking don't.
Yo, I know it's just a comedic fan dub. I genuinely do not care. It's genuinely disappointing to see anyone, especially talented writers, using other people's animation in their work. These animators do not want you fucking doing this, so fucking don't! So wait, probably. LMFAO, he blocked me.
Gee, I wonder why. It's almost like he already has someone arguing the exact same thing the day before, and he didn't want to regurgitate the exact same talking points with a brick wall. This is an even worse instance of this gross comparison, since simply abridging an anime isn't theft. The people making them are still crediting the original work and telling their audience to support the official product.
The following is a fan-based parody. Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, and Dragon Ball Super are all owned by Funimation, Toei Animation, Shueisha, and Akira Toriyama. Please support the official release.
The following is a fan-based parody. Sword Art Online is owned by A1 Pictures, Aniplex USA, and Reki Kawahara. Please support the official release.
The following is a non-profit fan-based parody. Noragami is property of Adachi Toka, Kotaro Tamura, Studio Bones, and Funimation. Please support the official release.
They're still giving credit to the original producers of the anime's animation they're abridging. It's also, again, a parody. Their goal isn't to replace the original in any capacity. Meanwhile, AI's sole purpose, whether it be art, animation, voices, or what have you, is to replace. This whole comparison is faulty, and it seriously needs to cease. Moving on.
It's time for Jack to let her rip. I mean, my name's not Jack, shut up.
I know your name was Jack. I know. I fucking knew it. That's cringe.
AI voices.
If it's being used for an actual product, then yeah, vomit. But I'm talking about the context of a small fan project. This is literally harmless. Not everyone can afford to hire voice actors for this type of thing, or are skilled enough to do it themselves.
So, from the outside looking in, I could somewhat see where Logarithm is coming from. If you're not at the skill level to do your own voice work, you are technically limited with what you are able to do in creative works. With that being said though, that's not really an excuse to just go to AI right at frame 1. You could ask a friend who is more capable of voice acting to provide their voiceover for smart projects to help build their own skills or portfolio. While I myself am an aspiring actor and am able to provide my own voice to my works, as shown previously, if I'm unable to voice a specific character or if my voice doesn't fit the role, like let's say I'm needing a female voice or one that's a lot lower than my register, I'm not just going to go to an AI generator and grab a voice from a voice actress or a deeper sounding voice actor. It's a lot more respectable to just ask a friend I know if they're able to help me out than resorting to a cheap artificial knockoff.
Don't try it, Runt.
Why? What are you gonna do about it?
Take the worst thing you can imagine, then multiply it by 100.
You'd do that?
No, I do something even worse.
Worth it!
Murder!
And even if you don't have a VA friend and aren't able to afford voice sound for your works, it's not like these opportunities will be going anywhere anytime soon. People will still be looking for voiceover work, so don't fret if you're unable to afford it at the current time. There's also learning how to voice act yourself, and while searching for the right vocalist could cost a lot as well, there are millions of videos on YouTube that could help you get started with learning how to voice on your own. Going to AI shouldn't be the first option when there are a bunch of better alternatives. It doesn't really matter if the quality is of an official product or not. Y'all, I know it's just a 30-second animation. I genuinely do not care. It's genuinely disappointing to see anyone.
I disagree. I understand your position on the matter, but my position on the matter is, for the most part, it shouldn't be used in for-profit works. And at most, non-profit fan works, such as this, should only need to preface that it is being used.
So as long as you state beforehand that you're using AI for an unofficial and unpaid work, using it in place of actual voice actors if you aren't able to afford for them is fine? That's a bit of a slippery slope if I've ever seen one, especially since, as I've stated previously, the issue isn't just with actors being upset AI is being used in their stead in general. It's the fact that they're being replaced by mimicking technology, and that they're also most of the time stealing the actors' performances. Even if the work is an unofficial and unpaid product, you're still limiting what people of this profession are able to do by resorting to the usage of AI. You say that you understand where Kaiser is coming from, but if you did, you wouldn't suggest an alternative that would still be in support of a tool that replaces artists. As a voice actor, if you refuse to respect us enough to not use AI clones of our voices, then please fuck off and don't talk to me.
I personally wouldn't. I just think knee-jerk reactions to new and unknown technology, more often than not, does more harm than good. I personally also agree nobody should be making them without consent, but I think the people making them should be getting backlash.
You taste like a candle that's made out of blood, and you are my favorite.
What? Oh! You thought I had something to argue against the first part logarithm said? Nope. The tone Kaiser was giving off is knee-jerk. I completely understand where he's coming from in that regard. As an aspiring voice actor myself, I too would be extremely annoyed that people would defend the use of AI-generated works, official works or no, but at worst, logarithm is just uninformed about this situation and not really understanding why it's an issue. This isn't as egregious as the responses Bob had previously given. I'm not really a big fan of this type of behavior being used for this situation, but at the time with all of the other responses he's been given about this issue, it is a bit more understandable. I ain't trained to tone police anyone in this situation, mind you. You can still be mad about this situation, but at the same time, I do understand where logarithm was coming from in the first part of their response.
Unless, of course, you were implying that Kaiser's initial response to the usage of AI was the thing that broke the camel's back. In which case, no. He's absolutely in the right to have reacted the way he did. Even though this instance was one that was too over the top, he's in the right to react negatively to an artist foregoing actual voice actors in place for AI. Also, the new and unknown technologies thing? Yeah, fuck off with that. There are a plethora of examples that I've already went over that goes over why AI voices as a concept is extremely flawed. People do in fact have the right to react negatively towards technology that replaces and impersonates artists.
Now that being said, the second part of this response does leave me scratching my head a bit. Kaiser's first post in response to someone using AI work was him giving backlash to someone using a generated performance from an actual actor without that actor's consent, i.e. the actor of the engineer. You can argue if it was unfair or not, but he clearly was against the usage of the tool without consent. So if you agree with this, it's a bit strange to argue against Kaiser as if he wasn't doing that. This shit has been going on for well over a year. We had a huge strike over it. This has been talked about, discussed, dissected, argued, explored. The conversation is over. Don't use our fucking voice for AI.
Alright, fair enough. I shall accept my L. Sorry to have bothered you.
So yeah, both sides had an argument here. While I completely get the fact Kaiser came in a bit too headstrong in this argument, and that some people might not be able to afford proper training or voice commissions, that doesn't really negate the other issues we've already went over. That being this tool having the capability of replacing talented artists and mimicking their performances without their consent, and that it doesn't really matter if the quality of said performance is not at the same level as official works. Even with the bit at the end, this was still one of the more tamer interactions we've seen in these threads. I guess my advice to Logarithm here would be the same I gave to Mike, in that it would be best to be a lot more educated in this discourse before making your own takes on the situation at hand. That, and look back through the interaction itself to see whether or not you end up contradicting yourself. And now, the last thread.
Alright, here I fucking go, you stupid bitch!
Paparuki! Y'all, I know it's just a 30-second animation. I genuinely do not care. It's genuinely disappointing to see anyone.
Why do millennials talk like they're desperately trying to be bullied?
What the fuck? Why does anyone think these things?
It's so funny. The DBCA guys are just annoying libs on Twitter now. All of them just talk like this. Curse of being a teenager in the 2000s. Blah, blah. Shut up.
So, remember how I said this whole situation somehow got political? Yeah, that. So tell me, Fractal and Alicia, how does this relate to anything in this situation? First to Fractal, since they're the easiest to respond to, what does millennials talking like they're desperately trying to be bullied have anything to do with Kaiser giving out his responses for why he views AI generation to be a bad thing? Were you saying Kaiser was acting like said millennial? How so? You only asked the one question and nothing more from the looks of it. And by looks of it, I mean I can't go and check what they mean because their tweet is now gone, which, thanks for that. Now I'm unsure of why it is you even brought this up, since the conversation beforehand was about whether or not it's okay to be using AI for unpaid work. Bringing up millennials at all in this situation adds nothing to the table, and is only meant as a means of labeling people negatively as a means of filling the narrative. Speaking of filling a narrative, Alicia, point to me an instance of them talking like this on Twitter. Not only are you also just labeling them as something that is supposedly negative, you're now giving them a positive claim with no examples. What, by the way, Kaiser types gives the impression of him being a lib on Twitter. Whatever the fuck that's supposed to mean. Does being against AI suddenly make someone a lib? Are we now going to dictate what side of politics someone is depending on just an opinion of theirs? Why specifically the 2000s? What?
Tepig, use Ember for Arceus' sakes!
Wait, what?
Well, it's official. We're never letting him tackle anything political ever again.
Agreed. I had no idea he was able to talk that fast. Though, I am a bit concerned on how this video will end, now that he will need to take a few minutes to heal himself.
You know what? Since he went and involved us in the video in the first place, I think it's only fair that we're the ones to end it ourselves.
Ooh, I get to narrate again!
Yeah. Narrate.
He isn't strong enough, Chad. He can't take out his own buddies. He doesn't have the guts.
I sure don't.
He's not man enough.
They're so cute. Oh my god. They're so cute. CyberNeko's eyes are really funny.
So because I want to keep what little sanity I have left, we're just going to make these final thoughts extremely brief and just give out our final advice to each member of this degree chain. Pablo, you're ready to finally end this snarfest?
Yep. Since you were first last time, I'll go ahead and start us off. Firstly, to Bob Funland. Not only was the comparison you made between TFS's production on DB's AA and AI voices extremely faulty, you showed an immense disrespect to upstarting voice actors by insinuating that they shouldn't worry if a poorly performed AI generator user ended up using and mimicking their performances. You also seem to not fully understand why people view this as such a huge issue, apparently that is oddly prevalent in this whole situation, and instead focus on the legality of AI. My advice would be to look into why people are viewing a situation with negativity, understand and respect other people's boundaries, and avoid specific comparisons that's meant to insult the work of another.
Next up, we got Mike Doogle. Due to this being the shortest post here, the only advice I could come up with was just to research a specific situation before giving out your own takes on it. That way, you won't come across as treading ground that's already been treaded.
Up next, we have the thread made by Kendall. Honestly, you really didn't contribute to the conversation at all. Not only that, you also seem to enjoy having been blocked by Kaiser for having, yet again, made a comparison that does not work at all. I'm not really sure what to say without coming off as too condescending, but I seriously believe these types of comments aren't productive and shouldn't be repeated, especially if your intent with them is to just gloat about it.
So in other words, don't be a troll and touch grass.
Hey, that was rather rude of you! Also, that was my turn!
Anyway, the next thread to give advice on is the one made by... I'm just going to say logarithm. Arceus was with these long-ass names. Same issue with Mike in treading old ground and not doing research, but this time with the added baggage of contradicting yourself. And while you technically weren't wrong in saying Kaiser was coming in too headstrong, you really ought to come in with his perspective and understand why he would react in that way. Basically, research before coming into a situation, be more aware of what others and yourself are saying, and, I don't know, learn what media literacy is.
Wait a minute, didn't you come into this situation uninformed as well?
I already apologized to both you and Winston. Don't make this harder than it has to be, please.
Okay. And finally, we have the post made by FractalCounty and AliciaWimsiTwo.
Stay on topic. Don't drag politics in a situation that doesn't belong, and touch grass. I ain't spending another minute wasting my breath on that discussion. We're done.
Alright.
Oh, and before we officially end off here, some general things to keep in mind. Respect artists and voice actors, keep in mind how other people view certain matters, and most importantly, say no to AI! Well, that's the end of that finally. That's like, what, the second time now that I got dragged into something like this? I don't know about you, Pablo, but I think I'm done with this commentary shtick for a good long while. I'd rather focus on my training and research, all things considered. I don't know, I kind of found doing that last bit rather entertaining. If I'm able to, I'd love to be able to contribute to these, commentaries? Yeah, that's it! These commentaries again! Yeah, have fun with that, pork chop. Now if you excuse me, I'd better get rid of that app before Jack whips me with his tail again. And I was saving those clothes for the second episode too. Alright, Pablo and Ivan, you both better have a good explanation on why you... Oh, they're gone. And it looks like they've already wrapped up this video before me. Well, I guess there's only one thing left for me to do. What? Oh! You thought I had something Fuck Christ. You thought I had something. I don't. I fucking don't.